What are rich people doing differently to become rich?
Inherities aside, they are investing. Even innovators with great products or people with huge salaries don't get rich without putting their money into something that will gain value over time. Real estate, stocks, etc. There's also the hard work thing. Sure, but no one works harder than dudes doing manual labor in the middle of summer, and they're not so rich. My friend has been putting a percentage of his paycheck into the S&P 500 since he was 21 in 2011. In the beginning it was maybe $15 to $20 a month. Then after he graduated college and got better pay, it was maybe $50 to $70 a month, and he kept increasing the amount as he could over time. Now he's in his 30s with a house that he bought himself. Imagine being able to buy a house.
My grandfather's comment to me when I graduated from college was, "It's not how much you make, but how much you keep." I'm sure that's not a comment original to him, but I've kept it in mind throughout life thus far. Far from rich, but it's been good advice.
Don't fall for lifestyle creep. Invest your money. Have a budget and stick to it. If you can't pay off your credit card in full each month, you shouldn't have one. On average, investing in the S&P 500. Every 7 years you double your money. The earlier you start investing, they better.
When most people say they want to be a millionaire, what they might actually mean is "I'd like to spend $1 million." And that is literally the opposite of being a millionaire. Morgan Housel.
In my case, spending less than I earned for about 25 years. Forcing myself to invest, even when I was broke. My parents were not at all rich. They invest. Seriously. Most rich people, I'm not talking billionaires or athletes, just invested their money at a relatively young age and kept the discipline to keep investing, and are millionaires by 40, with more average jobs than you think. Compound interest is crazy, and it's unbelievable that basic investing isn't a required course in high school. There are so many people that don't understand the power of compound interest. It's not always about what you make. It's about what you save/invest.
This of it like this. Let's take Mark Zuckerberg as an example. Mark was not likely to ever be entirely unsuccessful. In most timelines, he graduates Harvard with good grades in a good field, and goes on to some success. Maybe he gets offered $200,000 starting salary to work at a tech company and takes it, and works his way up through to senior VP and possibly beyond. He lives a nice upper middle class living, or a bit more. Or perhaps he takes an entrepreneurial route. Bit more risky. But he probably would have enough connections and support to get going. Usually someone's first idea isn't a hit. But if he keeps at it, maybe he does hit on something and grow a business worth a few million and possibly more. What did actually happen to Mark Zuckerberg is that he was in the exact right place and time to win the lottery. Sure, his ability and hard work bought him more lottery tickets than most people. But he still won the lottery to become worth tens of billions. There was even a point where he, thinking it was pure brilliance that got him such success, thought to embark on his next trick after Facebook, thinking it could be as successful, and was told, no, that almost never happens. There's probably also a timeline where Mark Zuckerberg is clinically depressed and unlucky and underachieving as well. So, point is, you can't guarantee anything. You can take calculated risks, like going it on your own and starting your own business. If you know people, have some experience with the market in some area, and have some money to get started, that makes it way easier as well. And as some have suggested, if you're starting from $10 million, including coming from wealth, it's far easier to make another $10 million. Otherwise, you can plug away and bust your butt and see where you get. If you're bright and competent and living in a first world country, You're likely to find a way to make a living. At the very least, it's only in fields like the arts, where spectacularly talented people who produce great work can still completely starve in some cases. And just to make a point of it, among the stupidest plans to become rich is, I'm going to become a world-class athlete, or I'm going to be a big movie star. Huge numbers of people try to get there that way, and only a teeny tiny fraction of them actually do. I'd say the best way to do it is to set aside some part of your paycheck and invest it reasonably. At least that's what I plan to do. I haven't started yet. Oh, and of course, obviously, if you were already rich, it's easier to become richer, because you can invest even more. Finding multiple sources of income. Buying an appreciating asset like a house and paying it off, etc. The really rich get into huge debts to build something brilliant, but the ordinary rich keep out of debt and build their wealth slowly. Two different types. The Dave Portnoys and the Dave Ramseys. I know you're not looking for a stupid answer like, inherit $1 million, because statistically that's not the case. Glad to see people are talking about budgeting and investing. The two pillars. However, they have normally also solved the boot problem. They invest in the tools and resources they buy. When doing so increases longevity or profit. The boot problem basically says that one of the things holding people back is that they can't afford to be better off. When they go in to buy a pair of boots, they have a pair that costs $100 and lasts 6 months, and a pair that costs $500 and lasts 10 years, and they are forced to buy the $100 simply because they never have $500 to invest in the longer-lasting product. This costs them an extra $150 a year. But people who save and tackle a single boot problem can take that saved money and invest it both back into more boot problems and the stock market. Even if you don't need boots, there are thousands of boot problems you can get stuck in. For example, if you don't have money to buy a car, you're often stuck using a loan to finance, which means you can't shop the private market as easily, and are paying a markup. Since people like this usually have fewer credit opportunities, you might be stuck using a buy here, pay here. Try getting a $2,000 beater at a dealership or car lot. But if you don't have $2,000, you're buying something more just to get anything.
Being born to rich parents.
I think stories of people like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg throw off the public. In my experience, knowing quite a few self-made millionaires, most of them make career decisions after working in their industry for a while, the majority of the time to start their own firm. I know one guy from a white, working-class background, who worked for most of his 20s for other firms before starting his own recruitment firm. That was in the 80s. And he's now worth $70 million. Likewise, I know a guy in travel who spent a long time working for others before breaking out on his own. Found a partner to invest. Set up his own company. And 15 to 20 years later he's very wealthy. Not sure net worth, but makes $500K a year. I think if you want a reproducible model, so to speak, it's about refining yourself in a particular trade or sector, and then branching out when you've reached a certain degree of maturity. For all self-made people I've met, this is what seems to happen. Can be done at any age, but I think it's normally in 30s, 40s. I'm just speaking from what I've seen as a 29M. The other two types are luck, i.e. they invest in the right thing and it blows up or something. The majority of rich people I know, though, inheritance. They just have rich parents, grandparents, inherit a bunch of property, assets. Cycle continues, etc. I think the healthiest way is to see it as a long-term thing that will take at least a decade. Maybe less though if you're lucky. And just build wealth over time. If it's starting a business, take your time and make the right decisions. If you're climbing the career ladder, just do a good job. Take opportunities when they come. Invest on the side, etc. Again, I'm not rich myself. But from what I've seen, that would be your best bet. Having good mental health and dedication.
Avoiding social media.
Not wasting money. They live on significantly less than they earn, and invest what's now open to spend. Taking risks that pay off. They are financially savvy. It's not just about the dollar figure but also the knowledge to know what to do with money. Also, what makes people poor is somebody trying to trade after watching a YouTube video. There is always money in a banana stand. No other rich people. Developing a skill that is in demand by the world. Having money to begin with. This creates so much more opportunity. They don't spend all their money and invest. I was always taught to never act rich. Research purchases. Spend only what you can afford. Live by a budget. I live paycheck to paycheck. I work hard. Have a modest house. Decent cars. But nothing about me says I have money. I make my kids earn everything they want. No handouts unless they are working towards something. I invest, save every dollar. When I retire, I won't have to worry at all. Aside from inherited wealth, it's pretty random. Hard work can certainly make you rich, by some standard, but obscene wealth requires luck or inheritance. Every rich person I've had the chance to interact with generally had the same story of coming from a well-off family. Generally that wouldn't guarantee becoming rich themselves, but being taught how to be financially responsible and not having to worry about student loans or getting stuck in a debt trap when times get tough can give you a tremendous leap towards it. I'm not saying it's impossible for your average person living paycheck to paycheck to become rich. Because life likes to be random. But it's a difficult journey that's going to have you financially broke for some time for the chance to become wealthy, be it by higher education for a white-collar job or business ventures. They focus on multiple income streams, not just one job or business. They educate their kids properly. Not just in the traditional sense of going to school, but also getting them exposed to lots of different types of people, culture, languages, etc. They spend money on things that last, a quality house that fits their needs in a good school district, a quality car that first focuses on safety and then reliability, clothes that fit and are suited to various occasions. Of course, they spend money on their health and well-being because that's the most important part of having a high level of quality of life. As much as the general public hates to admit this, but rich people in general work hard so they can succeed at their craft. They learn what works and what doesn't work in their industry and take calculated risk and stick with that formula until they grind past the competition that tap out before they do. Lastly, they are fiscally literate. You need to at least understand basic finance and wealth building to be able to do exactly that. Become rich. Also, being rich, wealthy is also about sustaining it. Once you've reached that goal, you've got to stay there by doing things such as investing in appreciating assets, building and growing revenue streams, optimizing your costs and expenses, and mitigating risk so that wealth can be sustained. They use debt to buy assets, not crap. Your soul and time is worth a lot of money. Before any investments, You need to first maximize your income. Second, it's not only about what you make but what you keep. But the money must be put to work. Only save enough cash for emergencies. Some fun bills. That's it. Invest the rest in stocks. Like an index fund S&P 500. Don't put everything in there at once. Only in increments each month. Invest in real estate to rent out. Profits is minimal but longer-term value of property is excessive. Take a look at different options that are in line with your finances. Ultimately, you have to make sacrifices as well. Say for the next 3 months you'll not buy any bullshit. After 3 months treat yourself. Continue to set goals and deadlines. Being rich isn't about having cash, it's about assets and debt management. Buy real estate, stocks, other investments. Borrow money against those assets, which isn't counted as income. Use that money to buy more assets and keep stacking. Saving, investing, making a wise use of your money and getting a damn financial advisor, lawyer and planner. Investing consistently, living below your means. You have to use the money you got like a lever. Invest and plan for the long run. That's what I'm trying to do. I'll never be rich, but maybe my kids will be someday. They'll inherit real estate and my stock portfolio. Investing. Reducing or eliminating daily spending. Budgeting. Creating an envelope system. Avoid eating out. Limit streaming services. Ride sharing. Making cafe drinks at home rather than buying daily. Keeping a dedicated savings account. Exercising. Regularly attending to oral and personal hygiene. And keeping to a healthy diet like 80/20ths. Rich people start and run business. I don't mean some ass drop shipping bullshit. They start a business in their profession and grow the business. My neighbor wasn't well-to-do from young. Got into dentist school. Worked as a dentist for a bit. Took all his money and started his own tiny clinic. 2 decades later he employs around 50 staff in the clinic. Has a $10 plus mil house. A dozen supercars. Does literally whatever he wants and as of recently doesn't even really do any dentist work anymore. He literally takes home an amount of money he can't spend. Next neighbor was a concreter. Almost an idiot. Kinda MFER who couldn't pass year 10 at school. Decided one day, why don't we pour the concrete in the workshop and send the panels to site? Finished and became one of the biggest commercial concrete building companies in the state. Dude has a 100 feet yacht now. Next house. Jakartan family. Owns hotels and shit. Wealthy ass family for generations. Next house. Family owns cranes. Biggest crane business in the state. You see a crane. 60% chance this MF name on it. Dude is like 70 and still runs the business. But started at like 20 on his own with a little crane he bought and put on his truck. He just stuck at it for 50 plus years. Next house. Dude wrote software for some company. Stopped and started writing for himself. His program took off. Boom, company offers him like $100 mil. Dude sold it all off and retired. Where did rich come from? Starting a business and sending it for a long ass time. There's hardly any generational wealth in the area. No scammers. Hacks. No famous people. Well, a couple I won't name. But they aren't that big. There are some people like doctors and lawyers etc. Some developers etc. There aren't really any investors. Though these wealthy people from their businesses do also invest. To diversify. Like they'll have their business. A commercial property. A couple residential properties. Some shares. Some bonds. Some stocks. Some cash. Maybe some art etc. But basically go door to door and talk to them. 90% of them. How do you get rich? Started a business providing a booming service that grew to be quite large over a long time. Looking through, there are some good points. I'd also like to include that what you see has a survivor bias. Some of the risks and investments taken may have made people rich, but similar made others poor. Ability to manage risk and having a low time preference.